Dear students, today we shall be talking about the adaptations in deep sea fishes. Before proceeding, it's my request to you all to like and subscribe my channel Biolearnia. Today we shall be talking about the adaptation in case of deep sea fishes. Now when I say adaptation, it means that organism is trying to fit itself to make it compatible according to its environment. And we call such an adaptation as the environmental adaptation. Today, we shall be talking about how fishes adapt themselves to live incompatibility with their deep water environment. First of all, we shall be knowing that what are the characteristic features of the deep sea. Now, when we say deep sea, the region below 200 meters from the surface is referred to as the deep sea. So the region below 200 meter is called as the deep sea. Now when we say deep sea is further divided into mesopelagic zone, bathypelagic zone and benthic zone. So that very zone which is below 200 meter and up to 1000 meter, we call such a zone as the mesopelagic zone. So this is the mesopelagic zone, that is from 200 to 1000 meter. Second, we call it as the bathypelagic zone, that is from 1000 meter, that is from 1000 meter up to 4000 meter. So the depth ranging from the 1000 meter up to 4000 meter, we call it as the bathypelagic zone. Third, we do have the benthic or abyssopelagic zone. So the depth starting from the 4000 meter up to 6000 meter, we call it as the abyssopelagic zone or the benthic zone. So that is abyssopelagic and the benthic zone. Then the depth below 6000 meter, we call it as the hadal depths. So we also call it as the hadalopelagic depth. So we do have the different zones according to the depth of depth. We call it as the mesopelagic zone, bathypelagic zone, benthic zone, or the abyssopelagic zone, and below 6000 meter we call it as the hadal pelagic zone. Now let us try to know that what are the various physiochemical factors or the environmental factors which the deep sea water fishes have to face. So first of all, they have to face the total darkness, because it is not possible for the sunlight to penetrate in the deeper waters. It is only the epipelagic zone which receives the abundant sunlight, or it is the partly mesopelagic zone which receives the sunlight. So beyond the mesopelagic zone, that is the bathypelagic zone and the benthic zone, are the hadal depths. They are devoid of any, you can say, a light. So below 1200 feet, it is not possible for the light to penetrate further. So there is extreme and endless darkness in the sea. Now, secondly, they have to face the high pressure. So almost there is a greater pressure on the organisms as the depth increases. The atmospheric pressure at the sea level is about 7 kg per square inch, and it increases enormously, about 1 ton per square inch for every 6000 feet. So for every 6000 feet, there is an increased in pressure of about 1 ton per square inch. So there is a greater the depth, greater is the pressure. We shall be talking about this pressure later on again. So the another factor they have to face is the low temperature. So below to 3000 feet, the temperature is about 2.7 degrees centigrade. And as we go deeper, we do face the temperature of about 0 degrees centigrade. So deeper waters have almost 0 degrees centigrade. There is no diurnal and the seasonal fluctuation in the temperature. So as we are seeing here by the graph, that it ranges from the 25 degrees centigrade, and then there is a thermocline. which prevents the upper water being mixed to the deeper waters. So as we go deeper, the water goes on decreasing and it reaches up to 0 degrees centigrade as the depth increases. So another problem which the fishes, deep sea fishes, have to face is a scarcity of the food. These very fishes are dependent on or are at the mercy of whatsoever falls from the epipelagic zone. So the predatory fishes which feed on the other fishes in the epipelagic or the mesopelagic zone, that very prey, the pieces of the prey, they fall down and they are eaten by the deep sea water fishes. And secondly, they are also dependent on the ooze, which forms the important food supply. So ooze can be in the form of the Globigernia ooze, calcium ooze, silicon ooze, or different nutrient media which are present in the floor of the sea. So sometimes the decomposers like bacteria and fungi, they are also used as the food. Deep sea animals, they are either oozivorous or carnivorous. So due to the scarcity of the food, they are mostly oozivorous or carnivorous. They are not the, you can say, planktivorous or herbivorous, because the herbs and the phytoplanktons, they are present in that very part of the sea where there is the sunlight. So the autotrophs cannot be present in the place where there is no sunlight. So it is obvious that these fishes have to be carnivores. And one more important thing, that there is one rule, that eat or be eaten. One rule plays an important role in the deep sea water: eat or be eaten. There is a phenomena of eat or be eaten. So that is why they have undergone different modifications in their structure as well, so as to compensate the scarcity of the food. Now, another important environmental factor is there, that there is quietness. There is no wave action in the deeper waters. So there is no storm wave, there is no disturbance. So there is no movement at all. So everything looks like a standstill in the deeper sea waters. It is quiet. So it is not by the action of the waves or any other thing that the food can be passed on from the one corner of the sea to the another corner. But the lower, deeper waters, they are quite without any wave action. Then if we talk about the sea floor, I was talking about that the sea floor consists of the pteropod ooze, which consist of the lime shells, and they are mixed with the organic remains, and they are at the depth of about 300 to 900 9,000 feet, 3,000 to 9,000 feet. So that very ooze which is present at about 3,000 to 9,000 feet, we call it as the pteropod ooze. So it is the lime shells of the pteropod which get mixed with the organic remains. Then we do have the Globigernia ooze. So this layer includes the shell of the foraminaria and other organic material which range from 9,000 to 15,000. So we now know that 3,000 to 9,000 feet we find pteropod ooze, 9,000 to 15,000 feet we find the Globigernia ooze, and beyond 12,000 feet we do find diatom ooze as well. Diatom ooze is found at the depth beyond 12,000 feet. Then beyond 15,000 we do find the red clay, which forms the floor of the sea as well. There are certain other factors, such as deep sea water possesses the uniform salinity, and it ranges from the 35 parts per trillion to 37 parts per trillion, or 3.5 to 3.7%. And there are no other factors which can affect its water qualities. They remain to be stable. Then oxygen content is very low. Now, if we talk about the oxygen content, it is very low. It is 3.29 to 5.9 cubic centimeter per liter of the water. So as there are no producers, so there is no plant or the plant matter to contribute oxygen during the day. So the deeper waters are dependent on the oxygen coming from the upper layers. So that is why they have the limited content of the oxygen. Let us have some look at some of the important deep sea water fishes, such as we do have the example in the form of the loose jaw, we do have the bristle mouth, we do have the hatchet fish, we do have the lantern fish, we do have the spiny eel, we do have the moray eel, we do have the eustomias, we do have the idiocanthus, we do have the Abyssobratula glathia, which is one of the deepest known freshwater fish. So one of the important characteristic features of all these very fishes, besides there are many other which we shall be talking about them one by one later on. So we do have the their mouth. You see that their mouth is very large. They have the strong teeth. Their body is very much, you can say, modified. Many a times their body is longer, and their body is elongated and the ribbon like, and many a times they also possess the filament like structure in the form of the elongated, you can say, fin rays or the elongated fins. So besides these very fishes, there are certain many other fishes which are particularly modified to live in the deep sea waters, and certain bear, you can say, the bioluminescent organs in order to attract the prey as well. Now let us see what adaptations these very fishes have undergone during the course of their time. Now, the first of all, their predatory habit. As I told you, that deep sea zone, they are far away from the reach of the sun. That is why there are no phytoplanktons or the autotrophic, you can say, organisms which can prepare their own food in the presence of the sunlight. So sunlight being absent, that is why all the photoautotrophs are also absent. So there is no vegetation. So deep sea fishes should be predatory or carnivorous, such as we do here. The example is that of the gastrostomias. So it is a ferocious carnivorous fish which feeds on other fishes. Then scavengerous feeding. So these very fishes, they are scavenger in their nature because food is very scarce. They have to feed on the dead matter, or they are at the mercy of the pieces which fall from the upper zone. So the predator which eats its prey in the upper zone, the pieces of that very prey, they fall down and they are at that very mercy. Or the now one thing is there, that due to the low temperature in the deeper water, decomposition is slow, and those very things which fall from the upper side, they remain, you can say, fresh for a longer period of time, and it gives them immense time to eat those very you can say, pieces of the flesh. Then food missed by the deep sea, it also gets accumulated in the bottom, and they constitute the food supply for the sedentary echinoderms and the foraminarians as well. Or they are also dependent on the ooze. It may be calcium ooze, it may be silicone ooze. So they are also dependent on the ooze as well. Now, these very fishes, now when we talk about they have undergone the modification in their alimentary system as well. Now, what kind of modifications we are seeing here? That these very fishes, they have the distensible stomach. It means that these very fishes, they are able to eat larger chunks of the food or the larger prey, so that they if the food is not available for few days, they can do away with. Then the second important thing is that they have the large mouth. They have the large mouth so that they can capture their prey without any fail. Then one of the important things that we see here is that many times we see the modification in their spines, and that too in the form of a lure. It is used to attract the prey. If the prey looks at this very bioluminescent, you can say, structure, and the prey thinks that it is the prey, and the prey comes to eat this very lure, and it is eaten by the deep sea water fish. So this is an important factor, that the presence of the photophores, or the presence of the lure in the form of the, you can say, structures which glow at night or which glow in the deeper waters, they also play an important role to attract the prey. Then strong teeth. So this is an important modification in the alimentary canal. Their teeth are strong and curved inside, so that there are very less chances for the prey to escape the predator. Then you are seeing here as well that this very fish also has the hooked in toward the inner side, hooked teeth toward the inner side. This is the modification in there on the part of the alimentary canal. Then another modification is that they have a weak endoskeleton. The animals, they are frail and weak, and their body is thin and flabby. These very vertebrates possess uncalcified. They have the uncalcified weakly calcified skeleton. Now, why? Because it is due to the inability to accumulate calcium. Why there is inability to accumulate the calcium? Because of the absence of the sunlight. Because sunlight plays an important role for the deposition of the calcium. That is why they have the weak calcified bones. So it is totally uncalcified in the case of the chimera. So this is the fish which has a very weak or uncalcified skeleton, which is found in the case of the chimera, that is the ratfish or rabbitfish. Another modification being noticed in the deep sea water fishes is that their size is decreased. They tend to be slender and delicate, and many species the tail is long whip-like filament, such as in the case of the, you can say, eupharynx. This is the example of the eupharynx. This very fish is eupharynx, wherein we see that the body is very much elongated and the caudal fin is whip-like. The body is very much compressed either laterally or dorsoventrally, and it gives a ribbon-like shape so as to escape the high pressure as well. This is also one of the reason. And in case of the dorso-ventrally compressed body, both eyes lie, that is side by side. So in such kinds of the, you can say, in such type of the fishes, the eyes come to lie side by side. And it is also supposed that the dorso-ventrally compressed body appears due to high pressure on the you can say, body surface. That is why they have adapted themselves like in a dorso-ventrally compressed form. Then one important factor which these very organisms have adapted to is they have well developed sense organs. So sensory organ is well developed in the deep sea water fishes. So their fins are considerably elongated in many. For example, we see in the case of the Bathypteris, so wherein we see that the fins are very much elongated. They have the sensory filaments because they are mostly in the deeper waters, and this help them in the touch reception, so as to detect the prey or the food in the deeper waters. In the case of Stylophorus paradoxus, the caudal fin is elongated into the filament. So these filament-like structures are sensory to touch and perceive disturbances in the surrounding water. So these kind of the filaments, they are very much sensory in nature, and they are used to perceive the disturbances in the seawater. Then again, we see that they have a well-developed lateral line system as well. In such fishes, we see the well-developed lateral line system, which enables the deep sea water fishes to live successfully depending upon this system, which we call it as the echolocation in the dark environment. And in the absence or the reduced eyes, this very feature is very important in the case of these very fishes, and in the case of eupharynx pelicanoides. So we see that the lateral line system is very developed, and it compensates the reduction in the eyes. Then muciferous system, that is mucus glands or the muciferous system. In the case of deep sea waters, it is extraordinarily well developed. So they have the ability to secrete large amount of the mucus, and their entire body is covered by the mucus. And it is believed that this very mucus has the phosphorescent property as well, and it glows during the that is in the dark. So we do have example of the macrouridae as an example, wherein this very fish has the obviously well developed muciferous system. So if we talk about the eyes, when we talk about the eyes, there is a little bit of variation in the mesopelagic or the bathypelagic or the benthic fishes. We shall be talking about this in the in ahead as well, but let us have a little bit idea that in the case of mesopelagic fishes, what we see that these very fishes are in an environment which is close to the epipelagic zone. That is, it is receiving certain amount of the sunlight. So in these very fishes, they have the almost normal or the big eyes, because there is light and they can see in the light. And in the case of the electrona or bonapartia, we do have the parallaxes, and they are adapted to see in the dim light. So that is why their eyes are a little big, because the light is there and they have to see in the dim water. And even in certain cases, their pupils are large enough to absorb the maximum light, so that they can see easily in the dark and in the dim light. So their retina has high concentration of the visual pigments as well, and the increased rod cells to see in the dark environment. In certain cases, we see that some of the fishes, we call them as the telescopic eyes, or bear the concave mirrors, as the in the case of gigantura. This is a fish called as a gigantura. It has a certain tube-like eyes, so as to see in the dim light. So this very gigantura chuni, the eyes of this very fish, they are tube-like and are said to be telescopic, so as to enlarge the field of the vision. Then if we talk about the eyes of the bathypelagic fishes, so bathypelagic fishes, they live in the complete darkness, so their eyes are very much reduced. And in certain deep sea water fishes, some are completely blind. In certain, the eyes are very much reduced, or in some they have completely lost the vision because of the total darkness. We do have examples in the form of the, you can say, anglerfish. We do have the bristle mouth. We do have the gulper eels, an example where the eyes are very much reduced, or they are certain fishes, they are completely, you can say, blind. Then talking about the coloration in the case of deep sea fishes. Coloration is also an important factor. Now, talking as a rule, they are usually, those very fishes, they are red, brown, gray, or black. And the standard aquatic coloration is black back and silvery belly. So why the fishes are having the black back and the silvery belly? Because when the predator looks from the downside to the fish, so this is the lighter belly and the darker, you can say, back. So when the predator sees from the down, the predator thinks that this is the light, and it exactly just hide itself into the background of the light. So when the predator sees from the upper side, the predator thinks that this is the floor of the sea. That is why these very colors play an important role. So similarly, silver belly helps the animal to escape from the eyes of the underwater prey. So we do have the Macrurus filicanda. It exhibits the black belly and silvery top, which is exception. So black belly and silvery top. So even the belly is mostly the white, or you can say light. But in the case of Macrurus filicanda, we are seeing that the belly is black and the top is silver, which is exception to the standard coloration. Then two more important things, that is hydrostatic pressure. Now, hydrostatic pressure, it increases 1 atmosphere. What we are seeing here, that this is the 10-meter distance. So after every 10 meters distance, 1 atmosphere or 1 bar pressure increases. So as we go deeper in the water, the pressure increases. So after every 10 meter, 1 atmospheric pressure increases. So deep sea fishes remain unaffected by the enormous pressure, as their tissues also possess same pressure as that of the surrounding. That is why they are adapted to live in such extreme, you can say, environment which is having so much of the pressure. Then if we talk about the swim bladder is lacking in many deep sea fishes. So this is just to escape the high pressure. But in certain cases, which we shall be talking a little bit ahead, when we talk about the mesopelagic, bathypelagic, and benthic fishes side by side. So this is just to escape the high pressure. And in some species, they possess the well-developed swim bladders, and even they do have the rhetia mirabilia for the secreting the gas. So that is connected with the swim bladder so as to adjust according to the depth. Then bioluminescence. One of the important characteristic features of these fishes is bioluminescence. When the light is emitted with the help of the living organisms, we call such emission of the light as the bioluminescence. So it is seen in the case of the deep sea fishes. We are seeing here that almost all the fishes which you see on your screen, that they are almost in the darkness, and they are just emitting certain kind of the light. For example, they, and mostly I may be telling you that these very fishes, they produce the cold light, or either in the form of the blue color or in the form of the green color, and mostly it is the blue color which is commonly emitted. But Malacosteus and the Pachystomias, they produce red light to attract certain prey. And we do have the photoblepharon, and it has the, for example, here in what you see, that photoblepharon, it has the light organ under the eyes. Then we do have the linophrin, it has the fin rays. Here in what you are seeing, that it has the fin rays which is luminescent, and this very fin ray, it is used to attract the prey. The prey thinks that this very luminescence is because of the glowing of a worm, and the prey comes near to it thinking that this is the prey, and itself becomes, you can say, prey for this very anglerfish. We do have the photostomias. It has the 4 longitudinal rows of the photophores. You are seeing here now. I may be giving you this is the row of the photophores, one row and the second row. So two longitudinal row on this very side, two on next very side. So it has the 4 longitudinal rows of the photophores. And in the case of anglerfish and linopherne, the light organ is located at the lure. So this is the lure which is emitting the light. So bioluminescence is the characteristic feature of these very deep sea water fishes, and mostly it is used to attract the prey, and also many times it is used to attract the mate as well. So it is species specific, and certain species, they have the photophores near the eyes, some have on the fins, some have on the, you can say, along the lateral line system, and some have the modified spines which bear bioluminescence. Then the adaptation in the case of the, you can say, sexual adaptation. If we talk about sexual adaptation, when we talk about the deep sea water, it is very much difficult for the organisms to find the mate for the reproduction. Food is scarce. To find a mate is very difficult. So many times what happens, that the males, for example, in this very case of the photocorinus, that is, it is also one of the angler fishes, you are seeing here that this is the body of a male which is attached to the female. So this is the female fish, this very fish is female, and this is the male angler fish. The male angler fish parasitizes the female, and this very fish parasitizes the female and remain attached to the female, so that at the time of the reproduction there is no need to find the female, and the female, for the female there is no need to find the male, and at once when the female lays eggs and there is a male ready to just sprinkle its milk over the eggs. So sex recognition in the deep sea is also helped by the species. And I told you that the specific bioluminescence is also an important factor. And it is also coupled with the sex pheromones. So many times sex pheromones are also released in water to attract the mates. And it is mostly these very pheromones are mostly released by the females. And we do have the certain species which belonging to the Ophidae and Macrouridae. They are peculiar in the production of the sound as well. So sound production takes place with the help of the, you can say, swim bladder to attract the mates in the deeper waters where there is difficult to find the mate. Then if we talk about the fecundity in the deep sea fishes, they spawn in the deeper waters. Their fecundity is high, and mostly when they spawn in the deeper waters, their eggs, they are epipelagic. They are buoyant. They raise high and reach on the epipelagic zone, because it is the epipelagic zone where there is abundant food in the form of the phytoplanktons, in the form of the zooplanktons. So the larvae are raised in the pelagic zone where there is abundant food, and when they metamorphose they return back to the deeper water. So their migration is vertical in the case of the deep sea water fishes. And in the case of the angler fish, what has been noticed, that they lay up to 5 million eggs. In them the larvae are epipelagic, and after metamorphosis they return back. Here in this very picture you are seeing that this is the male which has parasitized the female and remains attached to the female. So, so there are various ways of carrying the young ones among the deep sea fauna. Either these very fishes, they lay few eggs and much yolk, so that much yolk, if they lay few eggs there is much yolk for them, so that they may not die of the undernutrition. So, and they may become, you can say, they may become enlarged, or the larva may develop for some time when they are able to find their own food. So the eggs are laid with much yolk in certain kinds of the, you can say, fishes, and some are even viviparous, and they produce young ones in large numbers as well. And in uncared eggs in the water result in the predation as well. And the care for the young ones is also very common. Deep sea environment exhibits the changelessness, or to some extent the change occur very slowly. So there is nothing to mark the day and night. So there is no sequence of the season, no sequence of the day and night. The conditions are same throughout the year. So actually the environmental factors in the deep sea are uniform from ocean to ocean. So sea bottom is uniform in terms of the physical conditions, and many times what we notice, that there are certain convergent type of the evolution is evident to the specific ecological condition as well. So we talk about the deep sea waters where the conditions are almost same. Now let us talk a little bit. We should be knowing that what are the adaptations in terms of the three different categories of the fishes. That is mesopelagic fishes, that is bathypelagic fishes, and the benthic fishes. So when we talk about the mesopelagic fishes, now you have to be a little bit attentive that they live in the dim light area. It is not that there is total darkness, but they live in a zone where there is the penetration of the light, there is a little bit penetration of the light. And these very fishes, they migrate to the surface water at night to feed on the plankton and other animals as well. They are, during the day they return to the mesopelagic zone. There the swim bladder is usually present. Now here you find that the swim bladder is usually present in such fishes. Now please mind it that in the next slide you will find that there is no swim bladder, and they have the well-developed muscular system. Well-developed muscular system is seen in the case of the mesopelagic fishes. Skeleton is also well ossified. Now why the skeleton is well ossified? Because the penetration of the light is there, so calcium deposition in the bone can take place, so that is why they have the well developed ossified system. They also have the well developed nervous system, heart, gills, kidneys, they are well present. Eyes are large in some, and in some they are tubular eyes, and they prey by sight. So it is by sight prey. So it means that they prey on other fishes with the help of the light, with the help of the eyes. They capture the prey with the help of the eyes. It is not only by the sense organ or the tactile organs which help them to capture the prey, but they help by sight. So they possess the photophores, and they also have the they also show the process of the camouflage as well. We do have the electrona, in this very case. We do have the paralapis fish. We do have the elapisaurus. So these are the fish. Then we do have the bonapartia parita. These are the fishes which are very much commonly found in the mesopelagic zone. Then talking about the bathypelagic zone, such fishes, they live without light. Now we are talking about those very fishes which live without light. The scales are absent in these very fishes. Skeleton is now very weak. So in the earlier case, skeleton was strong. Now in this very case, the nervous system is also poorly developed, and it is not comparable to the mesopelagic fishes. Swim bladder is reduced or absent. The gills and the kidneys are also small in size. So eyes are very small. So in the earlier case, eyes are well developed, or they may be bigger in size to compensate the dim light, to compensate in the dim light. But here in this very case, eyes are very small or non-functional. But these very fishes have well developed sensory system, either in the form of the olfactory system or the lateral line system. So these very eyes are compensated by this very system, that is the sensory system. And due to scarcity of the food, they have the large mouth. I was telling you that they have the large mouth. So sacopharynx, this is the example of the sacopharynx. We also call certain as the gulper eels, loose jaws. So we do have the cetomimus. Then we do have the linophrene and cetomimus. We do have the linophrene, and we do have the anglerfish. Or the saima. They are the best examples of the mesopelagic fishes. So these very angler fishes, they possess the fishing tentacle. So here you are seeing that I was telling you earlier as well that they possess the fishing. This is called the fishing tentacle, and it is used to lure the prey. So in the case of Antinarius, that is the anglerfish, the fishing rod on the head is called the elysium. So this very rod is called as the elysium. So we do have the fishing rod which is called as the elysium, Ilicium, elysium. So this is called as the elysium, and it bears the artificial bait called as esca. So this very artificial bait which is glowing, it is called as the esca, ESCA. So this is very much important from the MCQ point of view, that the fishing rod like structure, it is called as the elysium. It is called as the elysium, ILICIUM, elysium. And this very lure, that is the bait like substance, it is called as the esca. It is called as esca. So which it resembles this very esca, it resembles like that of the artificial bait to attract the small fishes. So some deep sea angler fishes, they possess barbels as well. So in some, the barbels are also present, which are luminescent. So in some, fishing rod is present only in the case of females, but in certain they can be present irrespective of the gender. Now thirdly, we shall be talking adaptations particular to the benthic fishes. So those very fishes which live below 3000 meter, we call them as the benthic fishes. So there is total complete darkness. They are similar to mesopelagic fishes in being active and having well-developed organs, and they are more diversified. Eyes and swim bladder range from being well-developed to, in certain cases, the eyes and the swim bladder, they range from being well-developed to absent. Photophores are usually absent in these very you can say deeper seawater fishes, that the benthic fishes. So many species, they have the elongated eel-like body, eel-like body, and they have the well-developed lateral system and the olfactory system. We do have one of the fish called as the Bathypterois. We call it, also called as the tripod fish, because it uses its pectoral fins, elongated, you can say fin rays. It uses its elongated fin rays as the tripod, just like a tripod, and its caudal fin on the other side, it is usually as a tripod. So we do have the another fish called as the Abyssobratula glathia, and it is the deepest known fish. Abyssobratula glathia, it is the deepest known fish. It is blind. And then we do have the another fish, it is called the lizard fish. It is called as Bathysaurus. This very fish, this is the Bathysaurus. So and then we do have the Caryproctus. It is also called a snail fish. These are the examples of the deep sea water fishes. The snail fish, that is the Caryproctus. We do have the lizard fish. We do have the Abyssobratula glathia. We do have the tripod fish. So this was all about the adaptation in the case of the deep sea water fishes. Next, we shall be talking about the excretory system in the case of fishes.